Hello everyone, and today we're going to be just do something a bit different. As you all know, I'm usually a versus guy, and you will not know that I'm a big fan of the show called Death Battle. There are so many ideas waiting to happen, and some ideas that should happen, and some ideas that didn't happen that honestly should happen. Anyway, so these are my top 10 most wanted death battles for 2023. For the rules, they have to be similar in more than one way. They have to be from different series. And they have to be... I don't know the rest of the rules, but... yeah, those are just the two rules. Different series, similar in more than one way. And no, it's not a two similarity thing. I'm doing a full-on 4 similarity thing as of Death Battle's limits. Anyway, if you don't want these ideas, then that's okay. If you do want them, that's also perfectly okay. These are just ideas that I find to be amazing and need to happen next year. So, yeah. And, just disclaimer, none of these characters belong to me. The copywriters of these characters own them under fair use, and I'm using them for entertainment. And also the footage I'm using is used under fair use. So, yeah. Before this list starts, I also want to give a kind of a big shout out. Thank you guys for the views on my Ghost Rider vs. Spawn video. Though I am kind of ashamed about the build cord video. Yeah, I should honestly redo that in the future. Anyway, just a little something again before we begin the list. These are going to have some ideas that you might not like, or you might think they're just, no, they don't have to happen, and they don't need to happen, they're just bleh. But it's just all my opinion. I want them, and hey, it's just, again, my opinion. You don't have to agree with me on anything. So, anyway, let's get into the list with number 10. When it comes to Death Battle, there is one main source that we need for a season, and that's video games. But what video game? There are so many video game matchups to be done. And boy, do I mean plenty. But I have my hopes up for a specific match. And it's going to be quite a wrath of a battle. And of course I'm talking about Asura from Asura's Wrath. But who is so strong they can mess with Asura? Who's powerful enough to match him? Well, let's see. Broly versus Asura. Atrocitus has Red Hulk, which is actually a pretty good option. I'd actually prefer that. And plus, he can just absorb Asura's anger, based on what I've heard. It doesn't have that debate anymore. Kratos is not happening this season, because it lost to 3D Pole. But Broly is the best option, in my opinion. Both were basically normal people until they suffered of the loss of a loved one, and they kill someone related to the main story to get revenge on the person that they lost. This has the potential to be the most destructive death battle ever, besides Hulk versus Broly and Thanos versus Darkseid. In Thanos versus Darkseid, we had streets being destroyed. We had planets being destroyed. We had a black hole being destroyed. We had a freaking being destroyed. Yeah, a lot of stuff. And in Hulk vs. Broly, we had planets being destroyed, entire solar systems, and 10 universes. Let's change that. Asura vs. Broly is the best for both, in my opinion. Again, it has the potential to be so destructive. And I can't pull out any of it, but I'm just going to move on to Broly and see what he has on the table. So Broly, his info is in Hulk vs. Broly. If you want to go see that, link in the description. Anyway, he's 34 years old looking. His height is 6'1", and he weighs 325 pounds. He has the speed of 196 quadrillion miles per hour. There isn't a feat to back up this, but it's according to Google, and His durability has to be uni using the new movie. Yeah, I'm using the new movie as my source here. And also the other movie. Then there's his strength. It's 63 sextillion tons. That's impressive. And also, he has a freaking dumb weakness. He has somewhere in his stomach you can punch and it kills him? That's kind of dumb. Then there's Asura. He's 27 years old. He has a height of 6'6". Dang, he weighs 120 pounds, and his speed is 50,916,591,661 miles per hour. I also put his durability at uni, because I watched something and I watched him survive a universe being destroyed. And he's also survived being erased from existence. So if Broly has Hawkeye, it would basically be useless here. Then there's his strength. I actually calculated his strength to be 152 octillion tons. Or 152 to the 27th power. Then there's the power difference. If we're using the new movie, then it's so close. If we're using the old movie, then Broly gets absolutely freaking obliterated. Okay, so here's the difference. In speed, Broly has a difference of 4.3512, and Asura has a strength difference of 1.329071. And I put both of their durability at uni, or 26 Yodafo. Or at least in joules. It might even be a terafo. But here's the tricky part. Who wins? I honestly don't know who would win, but I'd place my bets on Asura. Asura just has the better speed. No. I just think he has the better strength. I think that he would. This is a possibility, but I think he would have the better abilities. I think that he has way more experience. And I just believe that he would be far more durable. Fire Emblem is long overdue for an episode. And what character better to bring her series to the show than Lucina? Not as strong as the person in our last one, but who should Lucina fight? Well, let's see. Lucina versus Breath of the Wild Link. Yeah, let's look at their other options. Mulan is terrible, and it's stupid. I hate it. They have one connection. No, two. Women and swords. That's it. And they did it as a DBX, and I said, time-traveling people. Mulan doesn't time travel! Then there's Chrono, which I do not get at all. Connection, time travel, swords. That's it. Then there's the Mortal Kombat character. Lucina dies. Then they both have Trunks. They die. And I think that this is the next best option. And then there's Grovyle, but it's kinda good. But I think that will, in popularity, I just squeeze my hands, so yeah. I think it will squeeze in popularity, kind of like Ridley versus Rayquaza, but it will still be remembered, and it will still be remembered as a matchup. But then there's Breath of the Wild Link versus Lucina. You might think the connections are... Sorry if you're hearing the sound right now, but yeah. Breath of the Wild Link versus Lucina is a match that I think should happen next year. And I think it's the best option for both. And yeah. Let's look at the difference in power. Lucina was able to destroy a mountain. And according to Versus Battle Wiki, that's 43 or 4.3 billion tons. Or 4.3 gigatons. That's a lot. And again, that's a mountain level. Then there's Link. He destroyed a villain who is 50 feet tall. And I believe he weighs 11,000 pounds based on what I've seen. And the full-on hits that he could do is 304 kilotons of TNT. That is large town level. That's impressive. Then we go on to speed. Lucina was able to dodge lightning, or has to do something with lightning. I'm not sure. I don't know if she intercepted lightning. But if he did dodge lightning, that would make her reactions Mach 352.02086.045. Now let's look at Link. He can dodge lasers, and they said in Tanjiro versus Jonathan that lasers are faster than lightning. So he could travel 671 miles per hour, or 671 million miles per hour. That's light speed. So that's a difference of 33,804.3792471 miles per hour. Then there's durability, and Lucina has a feat, and she survived 5.7 kilotons. And Link can survive only 12 tons. That's a difference of 4,750. Then we get to their abilities, and they're actually pretty equal For attack potency, I definitely give that to Link. That's a lot of a difference. Then there's IQ. I could not find any of that. And Lucina is a genius. She knows archery and swordsmanship. So I'd say that her IQ is somewhere between 200 or 170. Then there's Link. I could not find any info. And this is specifically using Breath of the Wild Link. Not composite. Breath of the Wild. So I would just assume that his IQ is 170. Smarter than Albert Einstein, and he might be equal to Albert Einstein, or probably 40 times smarter. But I really don't know. There isn't any feats to show how much IQ they have. Then there's 3 years of experience. Not gonna lie, but I think Link edges that out. He's over 100 years old, but Lucina's like 27 or 18. Such. So let's count how many advantages that is. 1 for Lucina, 2 for Lucina, 3 for Lucina, 4 for Lucina. Then let's count how many advantages Breath of the Wild Link has. He has 1 advantage, 2 advantage, 3 and 4 advantages. So this fight is very close. But I'd actually give the lead to Lucina. I overall think that she's overall far stronger, far more durable. And her martial arts might be too much for Link to count. When you think of multiple possible death battle ideas, you usually think of Joseph Joestar. His ideas have grown in the past few years, but who did I choose? Well, let's see. Joseph Joestar versus Michelangelo from the 2003 TMNT show. Yeah. Let's go over their other ideas. If you use Composite Mikey, I would actually prefer Griff or Beast Boy. I'd actually prefer Beast Boy more than Griff, but Joseph Joestar's big matchup was Edward Elric, but Edward Elric needs to fight Harry Potter, because, man, Harry and Edward have a lot of similarities. And boy, do I mean a lot of similarities. Like, they have like 38. But let's move on to Joseph Joestar versus 2003 Michelangelo. Though this idea might seem dumb at first, and it might be like, oh, they're lazy and such. Let's just put Michelangelo up against so bad guy. No. They've got more in common than that. Both are, I don't know Joseph, but I love Mikey, and he deserves to come back, because he was done incredibly dirty. And, like, I can't think of the similarities, but I'll guess them anyway. Lazy and arrogant people who are seen as massive idiots, but are actually technological geniuses who are on a team of heroes and have powers of the last generations. Wow, that could have been worded together. But again, I don't know Joseph, and I know Mikey a lot. For me, for a Mikey matchup to work, his personality has to clash with the person. Like, I would like a Mikey matchup. Like, yeah. This matchup has been talked about a lot, but the main problem is, who's gonna win? Who's gonna range victorious? Well, Joseph, yeah. Part 3 I think is when the stance got introduced. I think it is. But yeah, I don't remember the stats that they gave him, but I know they gave the light speed reactions and a 1 or maybe 10 megaton or gigaton feet. I don't know. I haven't watched Dio versus Alucard in a while, and I just saw Tanjiro's analysis in Tanjiro versus Jonathan to figure out who would win between Alphonse and Nezuko. Anyway, so Mikey and Joseph are the stats they gave for 2003 Leonardo and Leonardo versus Red Ranger Jason, I would have to give Joseph the overall strength advantage, though I don't know any speed feats from 2003. I'm just a part of like the 2012 show. Like, I'm a big fan of that, not the 2003 show. I believe Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would be a better pick. Let's just figure, we're gonna use composite, Mikey. We're just gonna use composite because I have no idea. Like, they gave, like, let's kill him to Leonardo, who's able to dodge lightning. That would give Joseph the speed advantage, because in Tanjiro versus Jonathan, they downright said that lightning was slower than light. Light was 3,000 times faster than lightning. And I actually searched it up, and lightning doesn't go at 671 million miles per hour. It actually goes at... Okay, let me try this. Just I'm trying to think. 270,000 miles per hour. That is 3 times faster than the eye can see. And yeah, that's quite impressive. But still not as impressive as Joseph's feats. For weapons, I would have to give that to Michelangelo, but I haven't watched JoJo Part 3, so I just want to get this section over with. But who do I think would win? Mikey. Hey, I don't know Joseph, but I actually do like JoJo, so I'm not a biased TMNT fan. I just want this matchup to see Mikey back. Please do not let him fight someone as, like, if they were not, no. I would be fine if Joseph were to fight any other one of his opponents, but this one is just the more interesting. I just think Mikey has more durability thanks to his shell. I just think that he's fought way more villains. And now, thanks to Last Robin, I think that he would have more experience. And I believe that he would have more abilities if you use composite. But if you use 2003, then Joseph stomps. If you use composites, then it's actually a pretty close fight. But I believe Mikey would win because he has the better durability, experience, etc. Looks like Joseph had to go to show for that one. Tai Lung is the greatest movie character. His matchups have grown in the past few years, but who should he fight? Well, it's quite tricky, but I think I have my ideal opponent for him. Incineroar versus Tai Lung. First, you might think, what? Second, you might think, this is a stomp. But for who? I did not scale Tai Lung to the greater stuff Poe has. Like, really? We can't do that because that's after his defeat. We can't give characters feats that relate to other feats in later media. For example, there's Vision, who took a hit from someone stronger than Thor. And she showed a feat that was from the modern day. He showed a feat from the old comics and showed a feat from the new day. If you were to do that, I would just show the comic book of Thor and Hulk fighting each other. Then you'd be like, okay, I'm getting it. Then let's just go on to Infinity War versus Tai Lung. You might think that this idea is, again, dumb. You might think it's just cats who know martial arts and have fire, but it's more than that. Both are martial artists, pyrokinesis cats, who are the lesser known in their series, and they usually fight in hand-to-hand choreography, or hand-to-hand combat, as people like to call it. Yeah. If you were to scale Infinity War to the planet feats I know Pokemon has, because I know one of the Pokemons are actually planet level, and I know one of the Pokemons is universal. I'm looking at you, Arceus. But yeah, If you scale up into Arceus, Tai Lung's doomed. Yeah. But this is actually a pretty even fight if you don't do that. And also their other ideas suck. Goro is meh, I get it. Both fight the main protagonist, and they're both gray and blah blah blah. Then there's Sans. They actually have a lot in common, but I didn't pick it, so I can't tell you the similarities. Then there's Akuma, which I'm like, okay. Can you break a stone? Okay. Then there's Beerus and Krona, created by Biffweed. As a joke. Somehow he says Tai Lung could beat Beerus. If he could somehow beat Beerus, then Tai Lung Universal. Or multi. But, yeah. Based on the stats that they gave Goro and Goro versus Machamp, and the reasoning on why Goro lost to Machamp, Mortal Kombat characters are usually seen to be planet level. And that's why they usually stomp or get stomped by their opponents. Because they get put up against Street Fighter characters. You know, that such thing. Mortal Kombat is going on a total Street Fighter skull winning streak. Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter have a huge gap in power. Street Fighter is usually seen to be island level, but where was I? Infinity War versus Tai Lung. Yeah. We're gonna be using Poe versus Iron Fist and Goro versus Machamp here. Poe versus Machamp. Would actually be a funny battle. Okay. So, I can't scale Tai Lung to the later stuff Poe has, but I'll just get straight into the point. I think Infinity War wins. Because Goro beat Machamp, who is usually seen to be planet level if you scale him to other Mortal Kombat characters. So Pokemon are usually seen to be planet level or star level. So, yeah. Tai Lung's fricked. But Tai Lung does have the better experience. I believe that he would have the better, almost everything. But Infinity War has the better tier, and if Tai Lung somehow wins, if this episode happens, I would be excited. But for now, I'm sticking with Incineroar Stomps. Let's go on to number 6. Man, I gotta say, Martian Manhunter has to be the most interesting character when it comes to matches. And there are 4 that come to mind. One is lame, so I had to get rid of that one. Anyway, who did I pick for Martian Manhunter? Well, let's see. Martian Manhunter versus Super Skrull. You might think, what about Piccolo? One of the Death Battle members said that they prefer, like, the other martial artists person for Piccolo, but yeah. Then Super Skrull has no other ideas. But this fight has very, very bizarre animation potential. Their powers could clash against each other, and it's just a recipe for success in my opinion. Vision gets stomped by Martian Manhunter due to his feet. And you might think Super Skrull is a Marvel character, so he gets stopped by Martian Manhunter. But I actually think it's a pretty close fight. Let's go over their abilities and feats. Martian Manhunter was able to help Superman lift up 66 quintillion tons. And yeah, Superman and Wonder Woman were there. So if we divide that, then each were lifting 2.2 quintillion tons. That's a lot. And his speed, he's faster than light because he could scale to Superman. Superman, my bro. Superman. Superman beats Goku, and Superman solves the entire verse except Harry Potter because they have magic. Anyway, so Martian Manhunter's powers are fading through objects. He has telepathy, flight, and the ability to shoot laser beams from his eyes. This fight is actually pretty interesting, and their abilities clash up against each other pretty well, in my opinion. It could lead to some very neat animation potential, and it's so close. Because Super Skrull actually has fire, because he has the power of the Fantastic Four, and he has the powers of the Human Torch. And Martian Manhunter is weak to fire. There is something that I want to say, though. Lasers and fire are not the same thing. Yeah, they both burn stuff, but lasers are not fire. Fire is something that you can see and is something in everyday life. Lasers are not something in everyday life. So he counters Martian Manhunter's powers, but he can just fade through them for most of the fight. And that's his main weakness. You can have him read Super Skrull's mind to see his abilities. Then you can have the fight end with Martian Manhunter shape-shifting into like a freaking Quagmire arm that's squishing Super Skrull. And if Super Skrull wins, you can have him burn Martian Manhunter in a reference to the death of Superman. That'd be so cool. But here's the tricky part. Who wins? Martian Manhunter would obviously take speed, strength, durability, and a few powers. Well, Super Skrull, I believe, would have the better power. I believe that he would have the much better arsenal. I believe that he would have the better hacks. And I believe that he has what it takes, fire, to beat the Martian Manhunter once and for all. Or it could just be a complete and utter stomp depending on what you believe. But it would be a pretty nice fight, and a good inclusion to the Marvel vs. DC fights. Just to let you know, this is the only Marvel vs. DC fight on the list. I don't want it to be full of Marvel vs. DC fights. Yeah, I know we're getting tired of those. But I personally think that this one could work. And I could think it's going to be a very close fight that would get a lot of attention. Or you can just have him fight Piccolo. Piccolo's fricked if they do that. Bakugo is a character I would love to see come to Death Battle. He's my favorite MHA character. He has such an interesting story, and I would love to see him come to Death Battle. But most of his ideas kind of suck. I'm not kidding. Most of them kind of suck. But I think I found my most wanted Bakugo match. Who is it? Well, let's see. Bakugo versus 2003 Raphael. Just forget that I said 2003. We're going to use composite. Both of them are people who are seen as massive B words, but are actually very kind people who fight the main protagonist just to grow above them. And they battle the main protagonist many, many times. And they both battle an evil which they fight, but then they eventually defeat for a while. Oh, and we can't forget that they are seen to be best friends. Well, Bakugo's keeping it secret. With the main protagonist. By protagonist, I mean Deku and Leonardo. And yeah, the strength feat that they gave Deku was bullcrap. I actually calculated the cloud feat, and it came out to 50 megatons of TNT. That's a lot. The stats that they gave in Leonardo versus Red Ranger Jason may have been a little dull, but this does not affect my love for Death Battle. I would love for them to be treated like, they would have to be treated as, they look mean, and the analysis would have to end with, but they still want to save the world from evil, showing that they're not bad. That's not a similarity, I just want it to be like that. And the track name would have to be called Let Us Rage. That would be so funny. Now let's go look at their other ideas. Let's distract for a bit. Squidward is stupid. It's an absolute freaking stomp. Yang, I hear, is a stomp for Bakugo. Well, Squidward versus Bakugo is a stomp for Squidward. Yang versus Bakugo, as I hear, is a stomp for Bakugo. And the other idea I see is Genos. And I hear One Punch Man is Solar System level. And one guy says that One Punch Man is actually star level. But I actually looked at versus Battle Wiki, and apparently Saitama is planet level. So yeah, Bakugo's fricked. If he fights Genos, he's doomed. And yeah, it's actually pretty close. If you composite Raphael is way more even, and that's the one I'd like to see more. Sorry for hearing the sound in the background, but yeah. 25 megatons of TNT, massively faster than light, and again, Mikey, and let's scale them to that. Then go watch Deku versus Asta to get stats on Deku. And yeah, for who would win, I'd actually kind of root for Bakugo with this. I freaking love TMNT. And I freaking love my hero. And their story has come to an end, which actually very much saddens me. But I'm glad that Bakugo is finally going to get a debatable matchup if it happens. And also, Bakugo's character has to be treated well. He doesn't want his name to be get rid of. He wants to stay the edgelord that he always is. Though he looks intimidating, he's actually kind of kind. And he's willing to fight evil. Guts is a character that needs to return to Death Battle. I think that this is the only returning character alone, and not, hey, I'm going to put this guy who is a newcomer against a returner. Anyway, who should Guts fight? Well, let's see. Guts versus Dimitri. Cloud is far too strong, and Claire is actually pretty good, and I wouldn't mind seeing that. But I just don't want it as much as Guts versus Dimitri. The connections are, they both were normal people until their city gets attacked, and they are traumatized with their lives. But then they return to their normal selves, but then one day they become killing machines again. And both lost their eye. This fight is very, very, very good. But we're gonna get into who wins. Earlier I said that Lucina was island level. Let's scale Dimitri to that level of power. And that would make him mountain level. While Guts has survived being hit with something bigger than a mountain. He survived being hit by a ship bigger than a mountain. I'm not making that up. So I think that his durability would give Dimitri a run for his money. But there is the real part of who would win. I actually believe that Guts would win this fight. He has the better durability. I believe that the Berserk armor would actually make him way stronger. I think that he would have the way better weapons. And I just believe that if Dimitri were to somehow, I'm not saying he would, but somehow hurt him, like use his overall strength, I just believe that Guts would take it with no harm. And I did grab that from a respect thread. So yeah. Anyway, Dimitri overall has the better strength, abilities, and power, while Guts has the better durability, experience, and weapons. This fight is kind of bizarre, and I would like to see it more than Claire. But there is Claire versus Dimitri. That could be interesting too. Luffy is a character that a lot of people want to see come to Death Battle. And I mean a lot, not everyone. But who should Luffy fight? Well, let's see. Natsu versus Luffy. Let me go over the connections. Both were normal teenagers until they got powers which are actually rare in their universe and fight evil with a team of heroes. It works a lot better than Plastic Man. Oh, speaking of which, Plastic Man is an option. And I really don't get it, honestly. What are their similarities? And one, Plastic Man stomps Luffy. Because Plastic Man should scale to the Justice League. Well, duh, he's a part of the Justice League. And I know, just because they're a part of something, that doesn't mean that they scale to it. But he's just a part of the Justice League from I know, and I believe that he should scale to the higher up stuff. And for that, Luffy gets absolutely obliterated by him. And I don't get the similarities. Are the similarities just... oh, they wear red and have stretch powers. Is that it? Is that really it? That's like saying, oh, I'm gonna put All For One and Darth Vader in a fight against each other. Because they're both villains and they wear black. That's the similarities between them. Then there's Mr. Fantastic, who has the exact same issue, except has way less connections. Will have equal connections. Stretchy limbs on a team of heroes. That's it. But the connections here are actually more interesting. And based on the stats, I believe that it would be actually a pretty even fight. But I hear that it's a Natsu win. Let's see if that's true. So, we have to scale him to Zoro, who sliced an asteroid in half. Sliced an asteroid in half. Making him at least small planet to large planet. I'm just talking about Fairy Tail. Wait, no, that's like... sorry, I mean One Piece. And then there's Fairy Tail, which I have no idea which feats are there, but... I guess they're in a similar ballpark? Like, I really don't know that much, but... yeah... I can't do calcs because I really don't know the characters. I want to do a respect thread, but But if I were to give my thoughts on who would win, I believe that Luffy would win. I just think that he's faster, far more durable, and I think that he could counter all of his... Dante is a character that I really want to return to Death Battle, and most people want to see a return to Death Battle. Sorry, my allergies are kicking up. But who should Dante fight? Who is powerful enough to match this motherfucker? Well, let's see. Dante versus Kratos. Let me explain the similarities, and then I'm going to explain their other options. Both are hack and slash characters who kill their own kind and are usually seen with their most iconic weapon, swords. And they both have another mode which they can grow in power with. It's not super deep, but the animation potential alone makes me really want it. Then there's their other options. For Dante, there's Raiden from Metal Gear. Raiden gets stomped into the dirt. Then there's Spawn, which is actually pretty close, but Spawn actually edges out. For Kratos, there's Asura, and yeah, I honestly do get it, and I was actually kind of worried that might happen instead. I was like, okay, I believe that Kratos versus Dante is a little bit more likely, so I have to come up with another matchup for Dante. But I didn't have to come up with one because I found Scorpion, and it sucks. Then that leaves Kratos versus Dante. You might think that it's actually a stomp. Well, I thought it was, but it's actually pretty close. It just depends on what you believe in. Devil May Cry characters are usually seen to be universal to at least multi. I consider them multi, but before I was like, oh, because they fight angels or demons, that doesn't mean that they're universal. Look at Ike, for example. He fought a god, and my level is there. What level are they on? Planet level. So take that. Anyway, so Kratos is usually seen around Multi because he killed gods. Yeah, I really don't believe that. I at least put him around Uni. Because remember what I said about because to fight gods, that doesn't mean that they're universal or multiversal or outerversal. They have to have a direct feat to prove that. You can't just say, "Oh, I fight a god. He's universal." That's not how it works. That is not how it works. Now we're gonna go on to who would actually win the battle. Dante would take Arsenal and hacks and forms. He would, of course, have to take training / experience. He would also take abilities and much, much more. He might even take speed. But then there's Kratos. Yeah, he unironically takes durability, strength, IQ, battle IQ, and I really don't know what else. But I believe that Kratos would probably win. But I believe that Dante would win thanks to his broken healing factor. Like, Jesus Christ, that thing is broken. Ugh. Have you seen the stats that they gave Virgil in Virgil versus Sephiroth? Those stats are insane. Freaking insane, guys. But I believe that Dante would win more times than not. I'm sorry I couldn't give out any stats. I just really want to say some energetic stats for Dr. Doom versus Gilgamesh. Anyway, let's go on to some more herbal mentions. Cole McGrath versus Alex Mercer. Simple answer is already happening. And now, okay. Then there's Asura versus Atrocitus. Another simple question. I just had more investment on Asura versus Kratos. Dimitri versus Claire. I just thought that Dimitri versus Guts was more interesting. Joker versus Giorno. I didn't want to get backlash on the winner. So leave me alone if I don't get it right. Then there's Lily versus Flegel. This just barely missed a spot, but I forgot about it in the production of this video. So that's why it couldn't make the list. Again, it barely missed a spot. Metal Sonic versus Bass. Overall, the best Metal Sonic matchup, and people refuse to acknowledge that. They're almost the exact same person, but it did make the list. That's the same reason as Willy versus Flegel. I forgot about it in the production, and at that point, it just couldn't make the list. Dr. Doom versus Gilgamesh. I know that some people hate this matchup, but it actually interests me a lot. Kings of a kingdom who are seen as selfish would actually have more deeper personalities than they see. What isn't there to love? I just honestly don't have more interest in it than I should. Vision versus Red Tornado. Again, simple reason. I didn't want to put more than one Marvel versus DC idea in here because God almighty, Death Battle can do that. Like, they've come up with multiple good ideas. Zenel versus White Canary never existed. That never existed. And finally, for our last honorable mention before number 1, Luke Skywalker versus the Lloyd Garbodon. Same reason as Metal Sonic versus Bass. I forgot about it in the production, so it could not make the list. It barely missed the number 1 spot. And it barely missed a spot on the entire list. But anyway, let's go on to the cream of the It was hard to choose number 1, but it came down to 2 matchups. Luigi versus Pac-Man and Xeno Vegeta versus Archie Shadow. Well, which one did I pick? Well, let's see. Xeno Trunks versus Archie Silver. You might think this is Vegeta versus Shadow or Trunks versus Silver 2. But I love Trunks versus Silver. is my favorite episode of all time. And it might as well be my favorite versus show or favorite versus episode of all time. But you might say Shadow was officially banned from ever coming back. That was Game Shadow, not Archie Shadow. And also, Xeno Vegeta is way more different than normal Vegeta. Because, hey, normal Trunks didn't get used, so Trunks versus Shulk is still on the table. Yeah, I unironically like this matchup. But based on the stats that they gave Xeno, Trunks, and Archie Silver, it should be pretty clear-cut. But anyway, I'm going to use their logic. For speed, I would obviously have to give that to Archie Shadow, because he has infinite speed. Then there's durability. I would also have to give that to Xeno Vegeta, because if you actually give him the stuff from the normal show, which he totally shouldn't, he should still up in durability. Then there's hacks, which I would actually give to Archie Shadow. And this fight is so close. But if I were to give my quick opinions on who would win, Archie Shadow. Again, he has the better speed. He has the better strength. And I very much believe that he has the better abilities and hacks to give him the win. And that is the end of the list. And that was my most wanted death battles for 2023 list. If you didn't enjoy these battles, then that's okay. At least you don't put a stick on my butt. I'm looking at you. But anyway, yeah, that was a good video to make. And it actually gave me more time to do it. And yeah. If I missed something in one of the characters' sections, or if you have any ideas, then tell me in the comments below. Bye-bye!